Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of People Behind Tech here in Lisbon. We have a very exciting guest for us today, Andrea, making CourtMaster here in Lisbon and soon throughout the world. I myself dabble a little bit in Padel, so I'm very interested in hearing about his story. Hi Andre, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us. So tell us a little bit more about CourtMaster. You also brought some things here for us today, but yes, tell us about your journey and also Padel. Why Padel? Why now? And what is CourtMaster?
Perfect. So let's start with Padel. Padel is the fastest growing sport in the world right now. Yeah. And for a bunch of reasons, I think it's the most democratic sport in the world, and I think it's going to change the global sports landscape in the next 10 to 15 years.
I agree. It's very accessible to all skill levels.
Absolutely. So that's a critical one, right? I mean, you can play it from 8 till you're 80. You can play it competitively. You can play it with your spouse. You can play it with your parents. You can play it with your children.
Indoors, outdoors.
Exactly. So that's a major factor. Another really big factor is it's accessible to competition early on. So I mean, I come from a sporting background and I've missed doing competitive sports. It's very difficult to get into a new sport and compete. In Padel, after you've played it for a couple of months, you can do that. And the fun factor.
Of course.
I mean, many sports require you to reach a certain level of skill, such as tennis, for example, if that's a good comparison point. Until you actually know what you're doing at a point in tennis, it takes a lot of time.
It takes coaching, for example.
It takes coaching, and it takes months until you actually are dictating some kind of influence on the point. Padel, 20 minutes in, you're having a laugh, and it's a really, really good experience. And I've seen this change happen in Portugal. Portugal is one of the most mature markets for Padel in the world. Mm-hmm. Not the most mature, that would be Spain, where Padel has actually overtaken football as the most played sports by the population.
Wow.
Last year.
Wow.
So that's because, of course, not everyone can play football and anyone can play Padel. And so, yeah, we want to ride this wave. And we also want to ride the wave that I think people have understood, that knowing how you're performing and being able to measure that is a huge factor for you to evolve faster, but also for your own motivation. Right? I mean, we have fitness trackers. There's also a social component to this. I mean, people want to feel good about improving, and they, fairly.
Tracking and comparing, right?
Exactly.
So, as a Padel player yourself, when did you discover that, okay, wow, I think there's something here that I can innovate in this space? What was that realization, and then how did you come to CourtMaster and what you're building so far?
That's actually a really interesting question, because I built the product that I wanted as a Padel player.
As most founders do?
Yes. So Padel is a game that once you reach a certain level and you want to improve, you realize that this is very much about decision making, where the tactical options that you take are the biggest influence on the outcome. Technique is important. And so what this means is that at the end of the match, you've paid 100 points. Mm-hmm. You want to know what mechanics and what decision-making brought you success and which ones didn't. And when you're running around on a court and you're tired and you're sweating and you have a partner, and I mean, who's played tennis who didn't get to the end and you and your partner didn't agree on what were the dynamics that didn't work out? And usually it's your partner's fault. But you have no objective way to prove this,
right?
Or any feedback to be able to kind of adjust for the next time. And this was frustrating me a lot. At that point, I thought the first level would be, I'd like to see myself play.
Right.
Am I performing and behaving like I imagine in my mind? And funnily enough, it's usually very rare that you are. And that's already a huge learning curve, just being aware. And then the second one is, can I transform this video, these pixels, into data that I can ingest?
Right.
And most plays can be broken down, and if you've watched a tennis match, unforced errors, forced errors, variety, how many of your balls go straight ahead, how many of them go to the right, to the left, how many of them are lobs, how long do you spend at the net. So you can actually quite objectively break down your performance in Padel into numbers. But for that, you need to break it down into point by point, and then into play by play within each point. and then you have a data set, and then you can actually assess your performance.
Amazing. So I see this how it's actually quite accessible, like the sport itself, to a lot of users for CourtMaster, because those who are just starting out, they would just enjoy just seeing themselves on the recording. And those who are quite professional, they do want to see the minute details of how they can improve their game, right? So tell us a bit more about how would a court or how would a user discover CourtMaster? I assume that you brought some things here for us today. I assume the court would install one of these or two of these, and then the user would download the app?
Absolutely. So we see this as an ecosystem play. So we want to have the clubs involved. We want to have the coaches involved. We want to have the players involved. So our view is very much one of building an ecosystem that will benefit all these stakeholders. This is the hardware solution that we've developed that is placed on each court. This here is our camera. It has its own custom-made kind of support system. We call this the camera system, and it has the camera itself. It has this structure here we call the hood. This goes flush against the glass on the outside of the court.
Okay.
And this structure means that we have the best quality possible because we have no reflections, which is usually a challenge when you film through glass.
So this is one camera per court, right?
One camera per court.
Okay.
The system attaches magnetically onto the structure of the court, and the setup is incredibly simple. It's about a 20-minute setup.
Wow.
You have to pass an Ethernet cable from the location where the camera is to an access point to the internet, a router or switch. This box is then connected to the camera, and the box is connected to the internet and to power, and you're set up.
So I assume it's almost like a platform. The Padel courts would actually promote your app, and the users, when they're booking a court, they would discover your app and be incentivized then to download the app for a recording of their match after they've played a game.
So the mechanics is actually that we put a QR code poster at the entrance of the court.
Okay.
And a player, when he approaches the court, he can read it with his phone. He creates a quick account on our platform, and he says, look, I'm about to play for an hour, or I just finished playing an hour, but you have to read the QR code. So before or after reading the QR code, how much time? We will provide you that video of you playing.
Okay.
From here onwards, this video is available to you on the platform. You can use it to generate highlights and to share it onto social media, or to annotate them for good or bad examples. And we already have coaches doing this and sharing this with their students. So that's a first step.
Making interesting Instagram shorts, for example, little clips.
Exactly, and which is a great promotional tool also for the clubs. So you see the same feature giving value to coaches, to players, and to the clubs as well for visibility.
And the sport in general, right?
And the sport in general.
Yeah.
I would want to highlight one feature, which is our first AI feature. So this is a company that works in steps. So the first step is over, which is where we have a scalable solution. We are now on 53 or 54 courts.
In Portugal or?
In 7 different countries.
But
the majority in Portugal. Yeah, we're in 3 continents.
Amazing.
So we're in Africa, Brazil, and Europe.
That's amazing speed for a year-old company.
Thank you. Thank you. So this is my second company, and so when building a company that has a hardware component, for me it was absolutely key to nail the scalability of the solution first, before figuring out all the smarts. So that's what we've been doing. So the way that we scale is we ship this to any paddle club in the world, and this comes with a QR code inside the box, and there you have 3 videos explaining you how to set this up. Everything is plug and play, and in about 20 minutes, if the cable is already installed, you have an intelligent paddle court with CourtMaster.
Amazing. So you mentioned a bit about the next phase with the AI functionality. Tell us a bit more what users can expect now and what they can expect soon.
Okay, so this was phase 1, which is we have a solid hardware, it's scalable, we have clients, we have recurrent revenue, we deliver best quality imaging. This is a 2K camera, it covers the whole court. It doesn't have the net in front, which is usually a problem. So very high quality media delivery. That's phase 1. Yeah. That's over. So we're now entering phase 2. Phase 2 is, now that we're collecting this high quality imagery, how do we transform this imagery into data that is useful for the player?
Yeah.
Our first AI feature is what we call on-court highlights. So you're able to, as you play paddle, and if you play, you know it's very likely that something funny or great is going to happen when you're playing paddle. And it can be just something, just stupid, or it can be just an amazing play. If something like that happens, all you have to do is turn to the camera and hold your racket above your head, and we will use AI to recognize that and create an automatic highlight of the time before that.
Amazing.
So when you get your recording in your account afterwards, you'll have that highlight already generated for you.
No manual finicky movements on the ball.
Not at all. You do it on the court, and we've seen people have so much fun on the court doing this. Sometimes, like a funny play happens, and the guy goes to do the highlight, and his companion who doesn't want it to be recorded as a highlight goes there and tries to kind of interfere with it.
Interrupt.
Exactly. And so, to be fair, that's one of the most heartwarming things, is seeing people have fun because of the tool. But I was explaining the second phase, right? So now that we've got this high quality data, we're developing algorithms that allow us to break down what's happening. And the idea is to slowly give more and more insights as far as how long the points are, where you are on the court. This gives you an idea of how offensive or defensive your game is, how long the rallies are, the kind of shot. So phase 2 is very much about collecting data and statistics from the game. And that's where we are now.
Are you collecting, for example, distance covered by the players and
Correct.
so forth? Okay.
Distance, number of sprints, and then many tactical insights. It's very important where you are in comparison to your partner, for example. And so that would be phase 2, give you data.
Yeah.
And this will lead us into phase 3. And phase 3 is the coach in your pocket. It is not only this is what happened, it is this is what happened and this is what you should do about it. So I could tell you that, it's a very frequent thing in paddle is lobs, right?
Right.
But it's very important that you have variety in your lobs. That you have variety not only in height, because lower lobs are faster and higher lobs are slower, but also in direction, because otherwise you become predictable. And that's one of the most important things as a paddle player, is you have to have variety.
Right.
So I can tell you, you've just done 90% of your lobs to the center of the court. Next time you play, try and bring variety to your lobs and try and put them cross-court or down the line, for example. And then we have our, let's say, proper long-term vision, which is, I want to solve one of the biggest problems in paddle today. Which paddle, like golf, for example, is a sport where you declare your level.
Sure.
Right, and that's how you'll figure out what category you'll sign up in a tournament for example. And I want to be able to say, you're a level 3.6. This is how your serving is like, this is how your attack is like, this is how your foot is like. To level up, you need to do this, this, and this.
Based on objective data.
Exactly. If you play with our system for 5 hours, let's say, you're fully parameterized, like I can describe you and I can tell you exactly what you need to do to level up, but also provide that information for things such as, what's the best racket you should be playing with?
Right.
I can maybe find you a very good partner that fits tactically and technically well with where you're at. I can help federations set up tournaments. And I see just immense potential in kind of raising the experience of playing.
That's amazing, because there's also a lot of partnership opportunities with other paddle apps out there. For example, I use Playtomic in Berlin, and sometimes it's quite frustrating to find a partner that's at my level. Sometimes they're too high, sometimes they're too low, because it's self-declared, right?
Look, that's one of the most frustrating things about paddle, is that the paddle game is usually leveled by the lowest level player on the court.
Yeah.
And if that player is, a fraction off, everyone's game is ruined. And so you never want to be that guy, but you also don't want to be the other. So it's just a poor dynamic. And I think if we were able to solve that problem, we'd really elevate the paddle playing experience for many people, and even more people could enjoy it than they are now.
Definitely. So how are you monetizing this right now? Are you charging the user when they use the app or create a highlight, or is this from the courts?
Presently, we're charging a monthly fee with a 1-year lock-in to the club. So this is a feature that the club is paying for and offering to their players. As we increase the value and the insights that we offer the player, we would like to be able to start charging the player directly for this.
Okay, amazing. And how much is it again now for the courts per month?
Per month. So we start at 90 euros per month for one court.
Yeah.
And the more courts the club has, it can go as low as 65.
Amazing. And how are the courts finding you right now? How are the clubs finding CourtMaster?
Look, we started in Portugal, we started small. All the international initiatives have been one-offs that people who found us or came to us.
Organic growth.
A lot of word of mouth. People play in the clubs, people use the system, and people ask about it.
Well, it shows the latent demand for what you're offering.
Yes. Now, how do they find us? We've been pretty much, undercover. We've been kind of in a dark mode just because I wouldn't be comfortable scaling until we figured out the hardware. Because if you scale hardware very quickly and you've got problems, you're just buying a future headache.
Yes.
So I'm really confident. We've had no systems replaced to date. So we've accumulated many hundreds of thousands of hours and videos delivered. We have now, like I said, 52 or 53 courts with 60 something already ordered, 26 clubs, 7 countries. So we've got this, we've made it weatherproof. Initially it wasn't. I'm happy to say we had an outdoor one now, this massive storm that just came through Lisbon. Our system is up and running, no issues.
It survived that storm.
It survived, although many paddle clubs actually didn't, right? Because they're in tents and they're so it wasn't a very easy week for paddle. And so now that this component is solved, we're now making another bet. We're betting on SEO. We're betting on a full digital pipeline so people can find us on the website and actually click through and just get this ordered.
Yeah.
And of course we have social media, which I think is where most of our users are, and something that we want to bet on as far as scaling globally.
Amazing. I want to take a step back and kind of explore your journey as a founder as well. You was at Southampton, as I saw, and exited founder in the climate field, marine biologist. Tell us a bit about your journey with your first company. I assume that was also in Portugal?
Yes, it was.
And then why Portugal? You studied overseas. Why did you come back? How was your experience building in Portugal?
Okay, so I'm going to try and condense about 20 years of my life.
That was a big question, sorry.
In as short as possible. So look, I grew up just outside Lisbon. And my grandma put me into sailing. And in high school and everything, that was actually my biggest drive. That's what I enjoyed the most. And I was lucky enough to represent my country and to kind of fly a little bit all over the world competing. And that brought a very close connection to the sea and to the ocean. And I've always had kind of sustainability as at the heart of what I want to do. I think we run the risk of being the first generation that had the data to know that we're having a pretty bad impact and not do something about it. So I really wanted to push that agenda, which is why I went to Southampton and studied marine biology and oceanography. When I returned to Portugal, and I returned because my family's here, I've got now a 22-year-old brother, and I wanted to be kind of close to him, so that was the main driver.
Right.
Coming to Portugal, I started working in a consultancy / research firm that worked with ocean renewable energy, so wave energy, tidal energy, offshore wind. And at the same time, I became a sailing coach. So I was working 7 days a week for about 5 years. Very tired, but really excited. You know, in your 20s, you have that energy. And I was trying to push this energy, kind of renewable energy agenda. And it was very interesting, and it gave me many possibilities. And then when I got to 28, me and 3 friends, we decided to quit our jobs and to travel for a year, backpack for a year.
Wow.
So we did South America and we did Southeast Asia. And this was, as I guess cliche this is, it was actually pretty life-changing for me in the sense that growing up in Portugal, and most of my friends went to work abroad, you always have this sense that you're in the tail end of Europe and that it's very difficult to do something meaningful and at scale in Portugal. And everything that's cool happens in Germany, UK, we have a bit of an inferiority complex.
Okay.
And suddenly, you're in Bolivia on a truck, sitting next to someone your age, and there's absolutely nothing as far as, they're not any dumber than me or any, they just ended up being born into a circumstance where their opportunities were not just the same as mine.
It widens your perspective, right?
Yeah, so I mean, the highest ceiling of many people is to kind of, be able to not live day to day, live week to week or month to month. Even if they wanted to build something that had big impact, I mean, the amount of barriers they have is huge. And what this made to me is I went from being a victim of someone who thought they didn't have enough opportunities to flipping a switch where I actually have access to everything I need to build something of impact. I might not have the best of everything. Maybe to be there, I'd have to be in whatever, Silicon Valley or something where like the whole ecosystem is super fast. But in Lisbon, we have everything.
Yeah.
I mean, we have access to high education. We have safety. We have really smart people in smart universities. We have access to markets. I mean, in the EU, I mean, Trump isn't helping the US trade right now, but like we have access to these markets. We have rules where if you have enough initiative, you can actually have an impact. And that changed me. So after a year, I ended up going back to the same job at the same company, but with a very different attitude. And I was just bringing projects to myself, and I had a lot of initiative, and I started playing around with entrepreneurship ideas. I had like 3 or 4, and they all kind of died somewhere on the way. And then I had the idea for what would become ProDrone, which is that wind turbines as a renewable energy source, they need to be very widespread. We need hundreds of thousands of these, and they all need to be maintained, and they all need to live for about 20 to 30 years for us to extract the value of them. And so the cheaper you can make running them, the easier it is for more of them to be installed, because
to justify the cost, right?
Yes, and then when CFOs need to make decisions of investment, if you can make the case that renewable energy is significantly cheaper, you won't make a coal power plant. You'll put up another 300 turbines, right? And so this was the motivation behind it. And so what I found was an inefficiency, which was in blade inspections. Blades are a critical part of wind turbines, and they were inspected by people hanging off ropes. And so my intuition told me, could this be done with a drone? And the answer was yes, but. And the but was wind turbines are put in windy places, and it's very difficult to fly and take high quality pictures of the whole surface of a blade if you're dependent on a pilot. And so ProDrone was born, which is how do we automate this? How do I make the drone fly by itself, take the pictures by itself, and then have a platform to process this and kind of bring this process, which was manpower heavy, expensive, and dangerous, into something that is data driven and can help people make decisions.
Amazing. I see some similarities between what you did there, but also CourtMaster in terms of data driven, using video AI and so forth.
With hardware in the middle, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, they definitely have parallels. And so that was my journey. I was sole founder. I raised money on a deck. I raised several rounds of funding. I got EU grants. I went to POC, to MVP, built the business globally. We inspected tens of thousands of blades all over the world. The team reached a tipping point of around 60 people, and we ended up being acquired in 2021, and I left the company after my divestment period in 23. And it was one of the most challenging and enriching experiences I've had.
Amazing. Just such an inspiring story, because you just see how you can flip a switch to see, okay, Portugal, rather than being at the tail end of Europe, is actually at the launch pad of Europe and the US, depending on how you want to see it, right? It's all about perspective and positioning. Andrea, we could speak for hours. Our time is coming to a close. I want to thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you very much. It was my pleasure.
Thank you everyone for joining us for an amazing conversation with Andrea and finding out about CourtMaster, his second startup. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to follow for more inspiring stories like his, you know what to do. Follow, subscribe, click here. Thank you.